Hello everyone. So this is chapter 6 from my contemporary romance novel Under a Namibian Sky. Dinner was even more perfect and wonderful than Naomi had expected it to be. Luca had been waiting for her in the guest lounge. His eyes widened when Naomi walked through the door, the effect she had on him immediately evident in the dilation of his pupils. "Wow, you look stunning. Even more stunning than usual." Naomi felt the heat of her blush on her cheeks. She seldom dressed up and wasn't much of a dress girl. The few dresses in her wardrobe were gifts Auntie Elsa had brought back from trips to Windhoek. The strappy silk dress Naomi had chosen for tonight's dinner felt lovely on her skin as it flowed over her curves. She'd always thought turquoise was the perfect complement to her colouring. Naomi returned Luca's smile. "You don't look so bad yourself." It was a massive understatement because Luca took her breath away in a tailored black trousers and black shirt unbuttoned at the top. How could he be that beautiful? He quickly got up. "Shall we go?" He indicated for her to go ahead of him through the French doors that opened onto the patio. But when his hand connected with the small of her back, she nearly gasped at the heat that flowed through her body at his touch. His voice was like a hot desert breeze in her neck when he spoke so near her ear. "We'll have a problem with you walking over the sand to the jet in those strappy heels of yours." Naomi was only half listening to Luca's words. His presence and the nearness of him entirely overwhelmed her senses. So it came as a complete surprise when he suddenly scooped her up in his arms and carried her toward the jet. She squealed with delight. His laugh, reverberating from deep within his chest, felt amazing against her body. The fresh scent of his musky, manly aftershave assaulted her nostrils and made her head spin. All too soon they were at the jet, and he helped her up the stairs. Luca made sure she was comfortable before he started the engine. "Are you strapped in?" Naomi nodded enthusiastically, as eager as Luca to get going. She'd never been inside a small jet before like this one. It smelled expensive, of leather and Luca and money. 4 seats in the front separated the back area, and there were 2 sofas opposite each other, a toilet and a kitchen bar, which offered a further touch of luxury. As Luca prepared to take off, his happy smile stretched over his handsome face, his excitement tangible. "I know we've missed the sunrise safari this morning, but the Ellie more than made up for it. And we've missed the sunset safari, but this will be the best sunset you'll ever see." The small craft lifted into the air with power and finesse. Luca handled the jet with such capable confidence that Naomi wasn't nervous at all. As they climbed smoothly higher into the sky, the vastness of the Namib desert lay beneath them. In the distance, the faint blue line of the Atlantic Ocean was just visible on the horizon. Luca was right. It was the most beautiful sunset Naomi had ever seen. That she was seeing it from this perspective and sharing it with Luca made it even more special. Naomi watched awestruck as the darkening ocean slowly swallowed every spectacular ray of sunshine. An immense velvet sky, strewn with the jewels of the stars, greeted them when they landed at Eros Airport in Windhoek. Luca had arranged for a table on the roof of the Namib Sands Hotel. Hollywood A-listers and other celebrities there on vacation often frequented its grand, world-renowned restaurant. It was something Naomi only ever read about, but now its opulence impressed her. Her eyes widened as the maitre d' ushered them up in an imposing staircase into a lift that wouldn't have looked out of place in a palace, and onto the large roof area. The sight that met them seemed like something from a fairy tale. Candles in tall holders, medium-sized holders, smaller holders, and a sea of tea lights surrounded their table, rivaled the light of the stars above their heads. Towering palm trees on either side of their table furthered the illusion of intimacy. Luca pulled out Naomi's chair for her. When he was satisfied that she was sitting comfortably, he took his seat next to her. His action surprised her because she was brought up with the idea that people usually sat opposite one another for dinner. But she loved having Luca so much closer, especially when he angled his chair more towards hers. He took both her hands in his and gazed deep into her eyes. His lovely smile lit up his face. "Thank you so much for accepting my invitation to dinner, amore. I hope it will be the first of many." Naomi sat transfixed by his beauty and nearly forgot to answer. But she kept her response light. "You didn't give me much choice. You practically bullied me into coming out, remember? But seriously, how could I refuse such a sweet invitation?" She wanted to add, how could she refuse a man such as him, but couldn't muster the courage for such honesty, even if it would sound flirty to him. Perhaps when she knew him better. Being dined by Luca was the most incredible experience of her life so far. He seemed to know her taste in food, wine, music, everything. It was all perfect. When their starters arrived, Naomi realized she was famished and tried not to gobble down the delicious baked goat's cheese with cranberry sauce served on delicate salad leaves. Luca had ordered a glass of Louis Roederer crystal brut champagne for her, and mineral water for him. He was flying, he explained. The champagne's bubbles danced in the candlelight. Naomi scrunched up her nose as she took a sip. "It tastes like a little piece of heaven." Luca smiled at her antics and clinked his glass against hers. She knew he thought she was only humouring him. By the time their lobster dinner arrived, Naomi had a handle on her hunger and could appreciate more the care and attention that had gone into preparing the delicious meal. The butter sauce was sublime, the creamy mashed potato and the crispy seaweed an unrivalled compliment to the scrumptious lobster, cooked and seasoned to perfection. Naomi was in food heaven, or she would have been had it not been for the nearness of Luca. Even how he ate was exotic and sexy. His habit of putting the food onto his tongue and then squashing it against his palate before chewing was mesmerizing to watch. He seemed oblivious to the effect he was having on her. Although he was clearly enjoying his dinner, his eyes remained on her or found hers again as soon as he lifted them from his plate. Luca remained ever the gentleman, making sure Naomi was comfortable and had everything she wanted. After a divine chocolate dessert and coffee so rich it could have been a meal in itself, Luca escorted Naomi away from their enchanting table. He took her hand and laced his fingers through hers. She felt herself blush at the intimacy of the act. They walked to the other side of the roof. The city lights blinked to their left, and to their right, the deep darkness of the desert loomed. Luca took Naomi in his arms and held her gently against his muscular chest. His arms felt warm around her, and his heart beat powerfully in her ear. She sighed against him and wrapped her arms around his torso in response. Could the night be more perfect? If this was just dinner with Luca, she couldn't imagine what it felt like to be appropriately wooed by this man. But is it what she wanted? She couldn't allow herself to believe that this was anything other than just a vacation romance for him, a fling. But he differed from the other princes she'd met before, and she couldn't stop herself from liking him more than she thought was good for her. Just before he escorted her away from the rooftop, he lifted her head and gave her a soft peck on her cheek. At the touch of his lips against her face, Naomi felt her pulse quicken even more than it had been doing all evening. His hand lingered in her hair for moments before he took her hand once more and led her back through the door into the belly of the restaurant and out the front door. It seemed to happen so quickly. Naomi felt the dinner had been a dream. The Almaty supercar in which Luca had driven them to the restaurant from the airport had drawn a small crowd of admirers. He smiled at them, opened the door for her, and helped her into the low seat. It was so quiet inside the car that Naomi felt immediately safe from the bustle of the small crowd around the vehicle. When Luca opened the door on the driver's side, Naomi noticed the applause the crowd had given Luca. He was waving at them and laughing as he got into the car. "Does that happen often?" "You mean the reaction to the car?" "Yes, everywhere I go, especially for the newer models, like this one." Naomi couldn't deny the car felt very luxurious, the drive to the airport uncommonly smooth. Once again, she wondered about Luca's life in Italy. The supercars, the glitz, the glamour. She couldn't even begin to imagine it. But he seemed to enjoy his time with her and Desert Lodge, so perhaps her life was refreshingly different from his. Back inside the jet, the tower asked for Luca's patience, informing him it would be a few hours until his takeoff. "What is this Africa time everyone boasts about? It just seems everything moves slower, see?" Naomi laughed at the pained expression on his face. "Yes, that's exactly what it means. But we're here now, in this lovely, cosy, comfortable jet. Why not relax and enjoy it, right?" She looked around at the soft white leather sofas and the plush carpet underfoot, and felt there were worse places to spend a few hours. As she looked up, she caught the devilish grin on Luca's handsome face. He winked at her. "Oh, I intend to enjoy myself. Can I get you a coffee or something?" Thank you very much for listening and for watching and for liking and sharing my videos. I really appreciate it. And I'm so honoured that you subscribe to my channel, which gives me the opportunity to post more of these videos for you, and hopefully you enjoy these stories. Thank you. Until next time.